Suicide. It's a topic we don't talk about enough. Friday the 10th of September is World Suicide Prevention Day. And I want, as the hashtag Now Alone Mental Health Lived Experience host, I want to share my story with you. In 2018, I went through one of the worst times of my life. I felt like suicide was the only answer, and my choice of suicide was to overdose. If I hadn't messaged my sister-in-law saying that that was what I wanted to do and seeing her cry, I probably would have followed through with it. I don't want to talk about the topics that led me to this point because it's a sensitive topic and it's something that I'm sure my partner wouldn't want to share. But basically, I just want to share my story with you anyway. My mental health was in a bad place and I wasn't communicating that was the issue, and I didn't know that was the issue. So I spent, after being suicidal, I spent 3 nights in a mental health facility. It was probably one of the worst times of my life, even though it was the right thing for me. Seeing the other people in this facility and seeing how much worse they were than me, it made me realise that maybe I wasn't as bad as I was. Although it was hard to know that going back home to my partner's house wasn't the option, but to go home to London was a big thing for me because I felt like I'd let myself down after this big achievement of moving countries. After 3 nights in the facility, I was released and the decision was made that I would return back to London and my parents would fly out to escort me home because I felt like I wouldn't be able to go home without breaking down again, and I was a flight risk. After a couple of days of saying goodbyes and stuff to my partner and her family, me and my parents moved into the city. The plan was to move home, and then unfortunately our flight got delayed, and that just made me 10 times worse. Seeing and looking back now and seeing how much stress and pain and worry that I put my family through, it's a bit hard to talk about. If I'm sorry if I get emotional, but the pain and stress and worry, and even seeing my dad cry, I hope he doesn't mind me sharing this, was probably really hard and made me realise how serious the situation was and how bad I was. Not being able to function, not being able, wanting to do anything, feeling motivated to do anything. I just wanted to be back with my partner, didn't want to go home. Looking back now, and I've now apologised to my parents and everyone that I put through the stress and the worry. I've apologised to them now, but looking back now, it's made me realise suicide's not the answer. There are things to live for, there's always silver linings. I did return home to London for a couple of months. It was really hard not to see my partner and to be back home and kind of resettle back into life back in London, but I don't want to share too much, but I do want to thank all those that helped me get through what I went through. To Live To for taking me on board and give me a job to be able to save up and return back to Australia where I am now, and I'm in a better place mentally. But even sharing my story, I really hope that it kind of does help someone make the decision not to follow through with suicide after seeing the impact. Honestly, seeing my dad cry, my dad doesn't cry a lot, was probably the turning point for me to motivate myself and set goals to return back to Australia in a better position and not put my parents through the stress and worry again. I have since been diagnosed with borderline personality disorder, which makes a lot of sense with my emotional state, which I do touch upon in the podcast. I also advise that you go and listen to the suicide episode with Daryl Green that we did on the hashtag Now Alone podcast, and also the impacts and causes of suicide, because suicide does live, and not only you may end your life and end your pain, but you do leave a trail of pain with the people that love you and people care about you. And as I always mention on the podcast, you're not alone. There's always someone to talk to, even if it's a psychologist, a therapist, a doctor, a stranger, a friend, a family member. If you're struggling, please do talk to someone. And suicide is not the answer, even though it may seem like it at the time. You will leave a massive impact on those who you leave behind. And even though I didn't follow through, I saw the impact and the stress and the worry, people worrying that I might commit suicide at any time. I don't want to put my family through that again and my friends again. through that again, and you should do the same. But anyway, I really hope this video does help prevent someone committing suicide, and let's end the stigma behind mental health. And I will advise you to go and tune into the #NeverAlone podcast. This has been a hard video for me to make because it is a sensitive topic, but I've come to terms with it, and I've reflected back and apologised to the people that I've impacted, and I'm glad I didn't follow through, because I'm in a much better life right now, even though we're in COVID and we're in pandemic. There's always light at the end of the tunnel. Tough times will come to you, and it's part of life, but it'll only make you stronger, more resilient. And please reconsider if you are thinking of following through with suicide, and I'm always here. Feel free to message me at lionstylemultimedia@gmail.com. I am happy to chat to you. I'm happy to give you advice and talk you through my own story, and also go and listen to the #NeverAlone podcast. It will hopefully remind you that you're not alone, as the podcast title says, #NeverAlone. And I want to say thank you for tuning in. I will include suicide helpline links in the description of this video. And let's lower the suicide count. Please talk to someone when you're struggling.